How's it going, everyone? Session here. Welcome to the Dead by Daylight developer update for July of 2023. Now, of course, with a lot of upcoming changes with the 7th anniversary, we have ourselves the new survivors, the new killer. We have a lot of more content, of course, on the way. So, of course, there being a new month, new update. I know that the Singularity chapter as a whole seems it's pretty cool so far, honestly, I have to say, and they're doing a phenomenal job with the anniversary event as well. So give them gigantic props for doing what they're doing. And of course, we got ourselves the update, which means that there's going to be a lot of changes, lots of nerfs, lots of buffs. Some stuff will probably be, controversial. Some people might agree with it. So let's just figure out what's going on. It looks like we have on the page right now, there's going to be stuff with some connected bots. We have report feedback. There's something with the Onryo hook grabs, new parts. That sounds like a nerf. Perks, so lots of changes, killer tweaks, and the cold wind farm balance update. So let's get into it. Summer is upon us and the entity's realm is heating up. Between an extra special guest making his long-awaited debut and the return of a classic summertime event, our next update is already packed with content, but we're just getting started. We have loads of exciting features and balance changes in store for you, and we're going to dive into each of them today. First off is Survivor Disconnect bots. Nobody likes being left hanging, especially when you're literally left hanging on a hook. Disconnections are sometimes unavoidable, and while disconnection penalties can help discourage people from leaving a match, they don't. They don't soften the blow when you're abandoned early on. This is honestly one of the biggest reasons why it took me a moment to just realize that I didn't like playing DBD as a solo player, because I still play the game solo. Um, where if someone finds out it's a certain killer, they just turn the game off and immediately it's an automatic 3 versus 1, eventually it's a 2 versus 1. Then I'm left alone and I tell the killer to just take me. Um, so people who disconnect, it's just honestly it like sucks a lot to deal with, but we'll kind of get a sense of what's going on. Our studies unsurprisingly found that your odds of escaping drop significantly when you remove even one survivor from the trial. This is true. Who would have guessed? I mean, that's where Dwightbot and his many friends come in. Going forward, any survivor who disconnects will be replaced with an AI substitute. When this happens, everyone in the match will be notified that a bot has taken over. This does not change anything on the disconnecting player's side. They still receive a disconnection penalty and forfeit any blood points they have accumulated thus far. Cool. Thank goodness for that. We've been working hard towards improving our survivor bot AI ever since the introduction to custom games late last year. While bots cannot truly replace the experience of playing with real people, they are more than capable of stepping in when needed to help prepare generators, save fellow survivors, and keep the killer busy. We will continue to improve the Survivor bot AI over time, as we have done in recent updates. So honestly, the biggest update that we had gotten when they introduced this was the fact that they can be applied to the custom games, and then they're going to be applied to public games as well. I find this to be like a massive, massive W, because literally the game becomes unplayable and the killer either doesn't care and just takes you out to the game and throws you in the next one, or at least now has to actually get like a fighting chance in the scenario of it too. Now, the only hope that I have is that, of course, the survivor has to just replace the progression of where the player left when they left. So, like in the scenario that, if someone is at their second hook, they're getting picked up by the killer, they're about to get put on their third and then call it a GG scenario. If the killer or if the bot, replaces it in that moment and just retains that information, that's perfectly fine. Hopefully there's no bug or kind of weird glitch that kind of restarts their progression going from player to bot. I don't think that's what the case is though, because in the custom games, it's very clear that the bot just continues where the player left off if they left the game. So that's really cool. But yeah, like I said, as soon as you hear like a chainsaw and you find out that's like a hillbilly or Bubba, then immediately they just turn the game off and then they go play a different game, and then I'm left with like a one less person kind of vibe. So this is a very big win in my personal opinion, and I'm sure everyone else agrees as well, because bots are better than nobody, of course. Next, we have successful report feedback. When you come across players' behaviors in a trial that don't comply with our game rules, we highly encourage you that you report them. That said, we recognize that never hearing back from us on what was done with your reports doesn't encourage the practice. That's why the team has designed a successful report feature. In the next update, you'll notice a window appear when logging in if one of your reports has led to a ban. The message will show you the date of the player ban and the reason for banning. That if a player gets banned and unbanned multiple times, you as a reporter will only get notified once per report you sent. That's good though, because at least that way there isn't like an immediate just, I mean, they're giving more information about what's going on, which is good, but I also don't want them to necessarily do that when people who are streaming or content creating also kind of expose that too, because the reasoning behind that would be very, I mean, I think it's going to also, comply with their game rules too. So obviously, like if I was streaming and then I like publicly whilst streaming show you the person and the reason for the ban, and like I talk about it, right? I think that that should penalize me also for trying to directly try to attack the person who I just wanted to get out of the game in the first place. So hopefully there's no like immediate correspondence for it. That will publicly like shame the person, because obviously just putting in the hammer for them to get banned is better than trying to like also deface them publicly speaking. So I think that's also a good way to go about it, at least without also getting in trouble. These feedback messages will apply to both temporary for things like harassment as well as permanent bans for cheating. We are constantly improving our anti-cheat and security measures to prevent cheaters from playing to begin with. We want to assure that the cheaters are dealt with seriously whenever they manage to slip through. The crazy thing for me though, personally, and I gotta say it out loud, I've never actually encountered a cheater. Um in like all of my years of playing this game. It's been almost like 4 years, I want to say, or 3 years. I've never encountered or at least visually, I've never seen a cheater in a match of mine. For me, it's more so people who are like doing like harassment things or saying really annoying things, in the chat box. Which, like, again, thank goodness there's no game chat, because I think that would actually change the behavior of the game a lot more. Um, but I think that like the fact that there's a lot of allegations and they have like an NHE program, for me personally, I would say like it has been a 10 out of 10 experience without cheaters. The gameplay wise though is different, but cheater wise, I have not seen a single one in my entire streams. I mean, unless somebody saw one through my streaming and you saw that was the case, then like please tell me, because I literally like I don't know what it looks like. I'm very oblivious to that kind of stuff until it's very blatant, and for me, it hasn't been blatant. Like I haven't seen a survivor do a thing that would indicate cheating. I've never seen a killer do a thing that would indicate cheating. Um, I have had friends who would react that they have been cheating because of like, what the killer did, but it just looked like they had like a really good shot, or play a really, they're playing like a very good game. I don't know. Either way. The Onryo. A little over a year ago, Sadako crawled out of a TV and into our hearts in the entity's realm for the first time. It's been interesting to see the different playstyles emerge since then, and today we have some changes in store to make the Onryo more terrifying than ever. I hope they make her a better stealth killer. Projection. When the Onryo is demanifested, she can project herself onto any power TV around the map. This would inflict nearby survivors with a stack of condemned in the process. We have made significant changes to this mechanic. Projecting a TV now applies 3/4 of a stack of condemned to all survivors not carrying a cursed tape. It was one stack to nearby. Interesting. Okay. It's kind of powerful, actually. The time a TV is disabled after the Onryo projects 2 has been reduced to 70 seconds. It was 100. Okay. It can be further reduced with add-ons. That's dangerous, actually. Okay. The time a TV is disabled after a survivor removes the cursed tape and has been increased to 90 seconds. It was 60. Oh, okay. So then if you put a tape in the TV, it's okay, it lasts longer. Okay. Projector now has a 15-second cooldown. Since there's no longer a range limit on the condemned effect, we need to limit how frequently it can happen. Oh, so you can't. Oh, interesting. So she can't project through TVs. Okay, so that was actually one thing that fighting against an Onryo was kind of obnoxious with, especially in smaller maps like RPD or Saloon, where if she just is going through television just to build condemn to anybody who's nearby, because the killer actually gets notified basically on who's nearby based on the who gets condemned by the television when she projects. So if you have the Onryo just go through the 3 middle televisions, all of a sudden like they get 3 stacks of condemn and everyone's already past like the 50% marker, and that makes it even more dangerous to like deal with televisions and also to get caught by the killer and all that fun stuff in between. Like it's really easy, it was really easy at least for Onryo to have everyone be like 90% condemned, and instead of trying to do generators, they would just go do tapes the whole time. This change actually sounds very good for the projection overall, because it it allows her to effectively use the TVs still to traverse the map. And then, of course, people who find out that she teleported, they get the alert like, oh snap, right? But the thing is that people don't get particularly notified of it when they're nearby her. It goes to everyone. So now instead of it being a one person being like, uh oh, like the killer teleported and it's near me, everyone gets notified that the killer just teleported, which actually brings more stealth as to where she could have gone to. So it actually makes it more, it actually makes it scarier for her to be able to teleport, because then you know that she teleported, but you don't know which television. That's actually really cool. For the time it to be reduced, so the TV will turn back on sooner than normal with add-ons. And it's sooner now than it used to be. That's fine because she still has a lock between how often she can teleport between TVs. Um, 15 seconds though is not a lot of time. It's actually still very quick. It's not a bad thing. It just needs to be played with to kind of figure out like how lethal can it be. Um, and then of course for you to put a TV uh, into disabled mode with a tape, increasing the time actually only further gives you the impression that you have to go handle the tapes accordingly. So with her, it'll actually make her weaker, like much weaker than normal. And that's only for the projection. We haven't even talked about everything else that she might have going on. So let's see. So yeah, the changes make it easier for her to spread condemned while using her power in a way that feels natural. But at the same time, though, if you actually fight her power, it actually makes her a lot weaker. So the cursed tapes have become more dangerous as well. Though holding a cursed tape may protect you from the condemned effect while the Onryo teleports, they do come with their own risks. Holding a cursed tape may protect you from the condemned effect? Okay. Getting hit with a basic attack while carrying a tape will apply a stack of condemned. Wow. Okay. When a survivor carrying a cursed tape is hooked, all survivors gain a stack of condemned and the tape gets destroyed. Interesting. Okay. That actually. Wow, that's so dangerous, actually. So, like, it's dangerous to hold on to a tape. Well, let me finish. Holding a cursed tape no longer passively builds content. Okay, no, I mean, okay. Cursed tapes can now be placed in any TV other than the one that they were retrieved from. Interesting. Taking a cursed tape is now a strategic choice you will need to make. The protection it offers may be beneficial for now, but it's much more punishing if you are caught carrying one. You want to plan carefully to get rid of your tape if you fear the Onryo may be on her way. Okay, so I understand. So ideally, dealing with the killer while holding a tape is extremely bad for you. It's even exacerbated when you actually get hooked with it also, since the tape gets destroyed, but at the same time everyone gains condemned. So if you theoretically, if she goes through a TV and then downs a person with a tape and puts them on a hook, then that's literally three points worth of a stack. Like you get the 3/4 of getting the hit, you get the 3/4 of going to the television, and you get 3/4 of putting them on a hook. And everyone ends up getting that 3/4 also. So you literally end up getting 2.25 worth of condemned in that combo alone. And that combo is actually more frequent than you might realize, I think. The fact that you hold a tape now no longer builds condemned is kind of nice though, but obviously you also have the ability to take it to any television, which is also amazing. So it's easy to take it to one close place to another. But at the same time though, if you get caught by her, then it's actually very bad. So it kind of starts being less of a gray area and it kind of goes a little black and white. There's still a bit of a gray area there, but it's less gray and it's more black and white, which is good. So obviously you either can take a TV and take out the tape and you put it into a closed TV and then boom, all of a sudden you have yourself a lot less condemned, or you take out a tape, have it in your hand, the killer finds you and she knows you have the tape and she'll literally take you down as much as she can just to force you to either take the condemned. So that's a lot. That's very dangerous, actually. She definitely became a much more lethal killer through these changes alone. And the demanifestation, we also made a few adjustments to the Onryo's demanifested state. Okay, she can only be stung while demanifested. Okay, it's not too bad actually. It's not a big deal. Chases are prevented when demanifested, making it more difficult to keep track of the Onryo's positioning. And also, it removes bloodlust, similar to other killers' powers. It no longer... Okay, chases are prevented. While demanifested. So then she kind of turns into a more of a stealth killer than she was beforehand. I'm trying to remember directly if I don't see Onryo played often, so it's honestly a little bit of a blur to me. But when she's invisible, you don't hear her coming. So oh, unless you run away from the killer while she is demanifested, it did play the audio. Then it makes sense now that it doesn't. So she kind of does become a bit of a stealth killer. Even more so than she was before. I think she's technically labeled as one, but now she kind of has redefined herself as being a stealth killer, and I like this. All in all, I like these changes because the killer doesn't get to overwhelm you significantly and right away with the map. She just gets to do it with her power, and if she catches you with a tape. They kind of put like a little bit of like a they added some more punch, but they also gave her like a caveat. So all in all, I think her changes are actually really good. And lastly, we have the balancing pass of her add-ons, bringing her highest and lowest performing add-ons closer in line with the rest of the options. Okay, cool. Hook grabs. Okay. We've all been in that situation before. A server runs towards the hooked friend, the killer's already nearby. You will play a thrilling game of unhooked chicken. Hate that game, honestly. Server attempts to trick the killer into swinging so that they don't get grabbed. Meanwhile, the killer tries to predict when the server may commit to the unhook to grab them and prevent the save. Right. Beyond this scenario, leading to some very awkward gameplay. This also makes it possible for a face camping killer to potentially defend the hook survivor and put a second one into dying state while they're at it. In this next update, we're removing grabs from unhooking survivors. Interesting. In practice, this means that the awkward mind game when unhooking has been eliminated. Be warned, however, you are still not safe while unhooking. Though you may succeed in rescuing the hook survivor, the killer will still be able to hit you twice before you can make your escape. In most cases, you still will trade your safety for your friends. I see. Okay, so then they can't just grab you when you're in the process of trying to unhook the person. So they don't automatically get to put them on the shoulder when they are trying to go for the unhook. So it kind of it prevents them from being grabbable, but they still have enough time to get the double hit if the second hit is actually committable. Got it. Okay. Okay. This is nice in two scenarios because I think they already also implemented the fact that if the killer is face camping or camping a hook, that person can just like get off the hook, and that's always been a nice win. This only makes it harder for face camping because now um there's no way for the killer if there's one hook scenario and then there's three people going for the rescue, the killer can't individually just grab anybody. The killer would have to ideally commit to three hits if it's played well by the survivors, which makes it easily more possible for them to rescue the fourth without necessarily sacrificing anybody else if it's played correctly. However, there is still the safety of, or the minimal safety of being able to like sacrifice yourself for the friend. So, okay, I like this. Brand new part. Okay. In the recent months, brand new parts have once again become a hot topic of discussion. I don't know why. On their own, they can shave quite a bit of time from a generator, but this is compounded when multiple survivors bring one to a trial. We realize this can be frustrating for killers to face, so we've decided to rework the add-on. When a brand new part is installed, you will face a difficult skill check. When succeeding the skill check, the generator required changes or charge are reduced by 10, and the add-on is consumed. In terms of time saved, updated brand new part will save 10 seconds compared to 22.5. Oh, wow. Okay. As this lowers the required charges for the affected generator, any regression perks which apply regression based on oh. Okay, wait, okay. So regression perks which apply regression based on the generator's total charges will have their effectiveness slightly reduced. So instead of reducing it from 22 to 10 and then just okay, so the progression for the part is worse, but the regression is less impactful. Okay, that's not too bad actually. I still would prefer that they don't reduce it so low. I understand that like if four survivors brought a brand new part that literally lets them complete a full generator, but like that's kind of necessary to some degrees because like the killers also just have some speed and able to prevent them from even doing that. Plus, there's the chance of it too. Like there's no guarantee that four people will be able to do a brand new part charge and then all of a sudden the gen is done, you know what I mean? So now what ends up happening is instead of being able to have four people do a generator together and then complete one guaranteed, they only can do half a generator. And that requires four parts. So I'm not sure that I think that's a bit too severe. I would have brought it down to 15 because at least that way the part because 10% is very easy to remove. Through just like a kick as it is because like a kick will automatically at least bring this to 7.5 by the killer if it wasn't buffed in anyway with like a damaging, and then this one will bring it to 20. um Okay. I mean, we'll see how it plays out. I mean, I don't use this at all. I don't like it personally, but I can see the frustration that killers would have in the event that four survivors all worked together to do this, and I can see how it would be great against only one person. I feel like they should try to rework it again in a way that it will depend on, like, I think the game should just register how many people have brought the add-on in, and then how many people are using, well, or rather, how many people are working on a generator with the add-on. Because sometimes you might just have, four people pick it up magically through a chest in theory, and then they just automatically have it. You know what I mean? Um, we'll see. I don't know. Because the add-on goes away also once you actually use it. So it's not like you can use like Streetwise or Felix's perk to regain charges for your toolbox. That part's gone forever. So you can't like reuse it at all. It's like a one-time use in the trial. Okay. Perks. This update will also feature balance changes to many perks to both killers and survivors. There's a lot to cover, so we'll try and keep these brief. As always, the exact details are subject to change following feedback from the upcoming PTB. Coup de grace. Okay, that's Charlotte's perk. When activating when generators are powered means the perk can only activate up to 5 times per match. Extended lunges can surely make a difference, but it's difficult to benefit from this perk when they are so limited. To help it come into play more often, Coup de grace will now gain 2 tokens whenever a generator is powered. It was 1. Okay, so they increased the number from 5 to 10. Not too bad. I don't see this perk get used often enough. It might be okay though. It's up to, we'll see. Claustrophobia. The perk also activates when the generator is powered. Since it only blocks vault locations within 32 meters of the completed generator, it is very likely that this perk won't come into play unless you happen to be chasing a survivor nearby. We are removing the range restriction from it so that everyone will have to react quickly and find a pallet instead of a window when the perk is activated. Okay, so this is way more cracked. Um, because the fact that it's a map wide now perk is actually it's kind of cracked. Um, so blocking vault locations anywhere is interesting. Okay. I think this perk is gonna make a really big bump in the, like, in the not the meta, but it's definitely gonna see stuff in a higher position than it was before. Hangman's Trick, that pig perk is, finds stuff in a tricky spot. Its range is fairly small given that hooks are very common. However, increasing the range any further would cause it to reveal auras across nearly the entire map. Hangman's Trick will become a Scourge Hook perk. Interesting. This perk now reveals the auras of survivors within 10 meters of a Scourge Hook whenever a survivor is being carried. Okay. So it's like Mastermind's perk, except instead of using it with the person from the killer's range, it's just being done from the hooks instead. That's actually pretty decent. Okay, that's actually gonna be kind of cracked. Because they've increased the range, but they also limited from where it can come from. And it also worsens them if you like use it on a Scourge Hook and then that Scourge Hook is removed. Okay, interesting. Territorial Imperative? This is the worst perk in the entire game, basically. That's what I said a while ago. Okay. Imperatives for aura reading duration can make it easy to miss. Add on to that fairly large distance requirement, and it quickly becomes a very tricky to use effective perk. We've increased the duration of the aura reveal to 6 seconds. It was 3. It was 3. It's terrible. We have also lowered the distance the killer must be from the basement entrance to 24 meters. It was 32. Oh, okay. To give survivors an opportunity to sneak in for a rescue, we have increased the cooldown to 45 seconds. Okay. This perk still doesn't really, it doesn't matter. The killer has to be at 24 meters from 32 as opposed, and then the reveal is 3 seconds longer than normal. But the problem is that you still can't be near the basement. 24 meters is still pretty far actually to be able to like effectively not get caught by anybody, to, you know what I mean? And they increase the cooldown for it too. I don't see this perk. This perk definitely, it's like a nice buff, but the buff isn't enough. Not But it's hard to buff this perk though too without making it very powerful and like utilizing the basement. Because the problem too is that you have to be away from the basement. I wouldn't reduce this number, but I also wouldn't increase this aura reveal. This is, I mean, I'll welcome it, but I 100% don't expect this perk to change in any capacity, shape, and form. Increasing the aura aura, and then reducing the basement distance is not bad. It'll be okay though, because at least like if you know for a fact that you're gonna try and put people in the basement and make that your play, then like this will work nicely. But for to try to like do that deliberately, it's kind of iffy. I don't know. This perk might work really well with like Trapper and like Nurse maybe. We'll see. Remember Me. This perk can help a match turn towards around turn to the end, but it's currently not as effective as we'd like. They're joking, right? Because like this perk is the most annoying perk, I think, personally. I hate seeing this perk combine. Okay, here's why though. If you combine this perk with No Way Out, this perk is like cracked. But alone, it's not. Yeah, alone, it's kind of whatever. It's okay alone, but it's not designed to be used alone. Okay, well, okay, let me not get my hopes up. This perk can help turn a match into. Okay, each time your session loses a health state, you gain a token. Okay, each token increases the opening time of the gates by 6 seconds up to a maximum of 24 seconds. It was 4 up to 16, so they increased the timer. Okay, I don't like that personally because the tier 3 version of the old version is already tier 2 version and it's stronger than that. 24 seconds with No Way Out is a lot of time to be sitting waiting for the exit gate to be openable, basically. That's actually kind of nuts. Okay. Okay. Hex crowd control. Having a window blocked behind a server after they vault can come in handy in certain situations or circumstances, but in many cases, the server can simply outlast the entity blocker. This doesn't create much pressure on servers to find and cleanse the Hex totem. We are increasing the duration of entity blockers caused by crowd control to 60 seconds. It was 14. Servers will want to find and cleanse the associated Hex totem before it's too late. They increased the duration to a minute? Okay. That's not okay. I mean, that's okay. Okay. The thing is that it's not bad. It's actually not bad. It's okay because the thing that has to be remembered is that it's a hex perk. If you get rid of it early, it doesn't matter. If you get rid of it late, that means that it's obviously going to get it's worse. So getting rid of it as a hex is more important than it ever was before because it literally lasts 4 times as long. Okay. So this perk is definitely very, very dangerous. Very dangerous. Okay. Trail of Torment. Okay. Trail of Torment allows the killer to hide their terror radius and sneak up on survivors. I like that. Since it disables the next time a survivor loses a health state, there often isn't much pressure to the survivors to venture over and stop their generator from regressing. Right, because if you tap the generator, it just stops working. Or if you hit somebody, it stops working. Okay. Let me read that again. Since it disables next time survivor loses a health state, there often is much pressure on the to venture over and something. Yeah. Okay. To make this perk more threatening, Trail of Torment will now only deactivate when the affected generator stopped regressing, not when a health state is lost. Oh, they got rid of the health state factor. This is good. This is very good. Okay, I like this perk change for the killer's side because I see survivors right here. The killer side of perks changes I'm cool with. This is my favorite one out of all of them because this perk literally now gives every single killer the capacity to become like a stealthy killer or at least make the game scary, which is my personal want. I want the game to be scarier. This perk alone does that better than it ever has before. Now, killers can use this perk on top of other things to make this much, much, much more powerful on a horror factor, which is good. So this perk change is a massive W. The massive L is probably claustrophobia. It's probably going to be super, super powerful. We'll see. Well, maybe. Um, and territorial is probably still gonna be a bottom tier. So, okay, survivor perks. Oh, not prove thyself. Okay, my favorite perk, man. Okay, I'm not gonna read it right now. I'll tell you right now though. If they got rid of the exp bonus though, that's a huge loss. Okay, This perk grants a repair speed bonus for each server within a small range, allowing servers to negate the penalty for working on a generator simultaneously. Though it is just as efficient to work on a separate generator, there is still tremendous value in being able to finish a specific generator very quickly through co-op repairs. To bring the perk more in line with other options, we are reducing the repair speed bonus to 10% per nearby survivor. It was 15. It's not too bad. We also removed the. I'm getting okay. Okay, here's my thing. I'm getting tired of them removing like bonus blood point things because like okay, I understand that they have significantly reduced the amount of points you need to get and do stuff in like the blood web. Like that's cool, but I want them to at least every perk should have some percentage of blood point bonus based on how easy or difficult it is to use the perk. I think every perk should somehow get some kind of a bonus. Because I feel like I definitely used this perk not only because it was a nice 15% boost per person, but also because I got bonus points for this. Not having this now is kind of like a pain, actually. I also don't know if. I still think Prove Thyself is going to be a very, very good perk, though. It's not going to be. I think it's like the meta right now. I think it's like the number one perk right now. I don't think it will be anymore. Although 10% per person, though, is still pretty freaking good. Prove Thyself is very good. It was very good if you didn't have people also using toolboxes. But if people have toolboxes and they have Prove, this is still a pretty decent perk. It's not cracked, but it's still really good. So it'll kind of fall in line. I think it will appropriately fall in line with everyone else, perk wise. That's good. Blast Mine and Wiretap. I think these two kind of come together. We'll see. Few things are more crushing than installing Blast Mine on a generator that only for the killer to ignore for so long that the trap expires. Fair enough. We have increased the duration of Blast Mine to 120 seconds. They almost tripled the time for this. It was 45. Wait. Oh, no, 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 no. Oh, okay. I thought that they nerfed it. This is a buff, actually. They increased the duration of Blast Mine to 2 minutes. It was 45. Interesting. So Blast Mine sits on a generator for 2 minutes? That's a huge buff, actually. I thought that they reduced the time it takes to reactivate the Blast Mine. For it to last 2 minutes actually is kind of cracked. Because they're not wrong. Because here's what ends up happening. Here's exactly what ends up happening in a scenario when you have Blast Mine. Once you find out a survivor has Blast Mine, then you once you figure out which survivor has it, you literally don't touch the generator if it has the survivor with Blast Mine on that generator. So like if I'm in RPD in the lobby area in the bottom and Ada has Blast Mine and I know for a fact she does, I literally would chase her and not touch the generator. And if I have a perk that would regress the generator without me touching the generator, I would use that perk over using just the normal kick. So it's actually pretty good that they increase the time. That's a lot of time. I like that change actually, especially because also they kind of nerfed Blast Mine's um like requirement to actually activate it too. So this is actually a good change. It's gonna force the killer to just have to suck up and deal with the Blast Mine despite it all. Um, and that also becomes a choice though because they also have ways to regress a generator without actually worrying about having to trigger the Blast Mine. Now, no matter what happens, they're probably gonna have to trigger it regardless. So this kind of creates a good safety net for survivors to use. Cool. Wiretap is in a similar position as the Blast Mine. We also want to make the opportunity to standardize how these sort of perks work. They also increased the timer for it to 120 seconds. It was 80. That's good, actually. Okay, so they match. We have also normalized the activation requirements and text description between Blast Mine and Wiretap, meaning Wiretap will now activate after 50% worth of generator repairs. It was 33. Yeah, that makes sense, actually. So when you activate 50% worth of a generator progression, then you get to activate the perk. This applies also to Blast Mine, which is good though, because that means that you can use these perks accordingly so when you're close to a generator. And if you put the two together in combination and the killer knows that you have Blast Mine, but the killer doesn't know you have Wiretap, it becomes kind of a lethal to get like a 2-minute kindred on the generator is actually crazy powerful. So I like that combo because people put these two together all the time. So it actually makes sense that they work in tandem together also. So I'm very content with this, especially because wiretap can't be used with open-handed, right? I think they mentioned that you couldn't use it with open-handed. It doesn't actually benefit from it. Because the generator isn't coming, or the aura isn't coming from the player, it's coming from the generator. So this is a very good win. Also, because Blast Mine doesn't even work on killers like Nurse and Wraith anymore because they don't suffer from light burn anymore, which Blast Mine used to apply. W. Okay. Saboteur. The hook breaking heroes out there will know that even a fraction of a second can make the difference between sabotaging a hook and getting hit. When you swing in for the save, you want to get the job done as quickly as possible. We have reduced the time it takes to sabotage a hook without a toolbox to 2.3 seconds. It was 2.5. Okay. We have also adjusted the cooldown for the perk to be 60 seconds. Oh, 90. Okay, gotcha. So tier 1, tier 2 is better. So it was 7. It's now 70, 65, 60. It was 90, 75, 60. So tier 1 and tier 2 can be used more frequently. Okay, that's not bad. Uh, they just reduce it by 0.2 seconds, which actually does make it can make a difference. It really can. Sometimes it's actually kind of crazy when you think about it because this actually does end up happening very, very often. Where literally, if you had a fraction more of a second, you would have been able to break the hook. So that's cool. Clairvoyance. Okay. Aura reading can be handy, but there's only so many totems to go around. Clairvoyance will not activate upon blessing a totem in addition to cleansing it. Okay, that's kind of cool. I actually appreciate that there's perks that basically benefit from blessing or destroying them because it's actually kind of necessary to have both in tandem together as much as possible. Okay. Breakout. Breakout helps you save a friend by putting yourself in harm's way. With the spacing between hooks, it can be very difficult for a survivor to wiggle out before getting hooked. Though we didn't want this to be too common, we found that it wasn't coming into play too often. Agreed. Breakout now increases the wiggle speed of a carried survivor by 25%. It was 20. However, to make this more risky, Breakdown now activates within a 5-meter range. Oh, okay, so that's not too bad, actually. That's kind of fair. It's faster wiggle speed, but it's closer range. That's not too bad, actually. I'm content with that. Buckle up. You can't always be guaranteed that the killer will leave a survivor on the ground in the first place. So when perk like Buckle Up comes into play, we want to make sure that it is impactful. We have revisited this perk and has given it a new effect. Upon healing a survivor from the dying state, both you and the healed survivor gain endurance status for 10 seconds. Okay, that's kind of cool. Yeah, because it used to only be for the person who got picked up. That's cool. All right, I like that. That's a good change. Smash hits. This is Yunjin's perk. When it comes to exhaustion perks, Smash hit isn't all too popular. Truth. Stunning the killer with a pallet is sometimes easier said than done. To make Smash hit a more interesting choice, we reduced the duration of the exhaustion effect to 20 seconds. It was 40. Interesting. They cut the timer in half. Because Smash hit also still gives you the sprint after the stun. Um, I actually like that change. Because I think right now, as far as I'm concerned, all of the exhaustion perks that involve a sprint, they all share the same timer. This is the only perk now I think where it doesn't. So that's cool. Spine chill. Before the visual terror radius was introduced, spine chill was often used by the deaf and hard of hearing players to give themselves sort of an indication of the killer's terror radius. Fair. When Spine Chill was reworked, we made sure to keep this element unchanged until a proper accessibility setting could be introduced. Now that the visual terror radius is available, we are removing the terror radius visualization aspect of the perk. The visual terror. Oh, so I guess that means that the meter for the perk won't actually change and like flick red on the HUD based off of the distance that the killer is. Okay. I mean, it's still not a good perk though, because the fact that unless they're talking about that now you can see the killer through the walls, because that's the biggest problem with this perk. This perk is not good anymore because they took that out. But it just sounds like to me they just took out the meter changing on the HUD because it was a good visual cue. That the killer was like looking at you in a certain way or is like coming close and that sort of thing. So just taking that out is not really and not because now it's only gonna like flicker like on or off that the killer is nearby. I don't actually. I don't know. I still don't like that they did that. They should just put it back to what it was, where you can use it through the wall because it was not a really. It was a decent perk back then. Now it's not a good perk at all. Killer tweaks. Keeping up with recent efforts to regularly review and tweak various killers and their add-ons, we have a small set of adjustments making their way to this update as well. As a reminder, these are meant to be a minor change, so do not replace the full-scale killer updates. Okay. The Executioner, good old Pyramid, has a built-in mechanic to prevent him from camping a survivor in one of his cages. If he comes within 5 meters of a cage, it will disappear and reappear elsewhere on the map. This range is fairly small, which means the killer can stay nearby and wait for survivors to move in for the save. To make this mechanic a little more effective, they increase the range to 10 meters. Okay, it's not too bad. The Spirit, we have a number of add-ons and change for the Spirit. Okay. Mother-Daughter Ring. What did they do here? This add-on, which increases the spirit's movement speed while using the haunting, is currently far stronger than we'd like. To bring it closer in line with other add-ons, they reduce the movement speed to 25%. It was 40. Okay, it's not too bad. It's still gonna be really good, but it's not too bad. Dried Cherry Blossom. This add-on triggers Killer Instinct on survivors that come within 4 meters of the spirit while she is in the haunting. Any information about a survivor's location is crucial while Spirit is using her power, and given its fairly large range, the add-on has been overperforming. They reduced the Killer Instinct of the range to 3 meters. It was 4. Okay. The Yakuyoki Amulet, Shiwase Amulet, and the Kayun Talisman. Each of these add-ons increase the duration of the haunting. However, since the spirit's power recharged over a set time regardless of duration, this also meant that these add-ons had a hidden secondary effect of making her power recharge faster. These add-ons will no longer cause the haunting to recharge faster. Their respective duration remains unchanged. Okay, that's fair. Origami Crane. Since the add-ons have no longer increased the recovery rate, we wanted to ensure that options were available for it if you want it to recover faster. So now the Crane will increase the recovery rate of the haunting by 20%. It was 10. That's fair. The Rusty Flute, likewise, will get a change above. So it increases the rate of from 25 to 40%. Okay. The Hag is getting changes. The Waterlogged Shoe removes the Hag's ability to teleport to her phantasm traps, which slows nearby survivors while providing the Hag with a permanent movement speed boost. The add-on isn't doing as well as we'd like, so they increased the movement speed boost to 7.5. It was 4.5. Okay. Yeah, I've never seen the shoe add-on ever. I see the other one where you can't see the actual the boss doesn't trigger the thing. The killer won't trigger the thing, but they can teleport to it and then they get the indication of it. That's the one that's like the craziest one. This add-on allows the Mint Rag allows the Hag to teleport to any phantasm trap in the trap, even if they haven't been triggered. This is the one I'm talking about. But with a 15-second cooldown. Wait. Oh, I see. Wait. Oh, wait. It allows the Hag to teleport to any phantasm trap in the trial, even if they haven't been triggered. But with a 15-second cooldown, this can allow for some interesting mind games, but the long cooldown can make it very punishing if you use it at the wrong time. So they reduced it to 10 seconds. It was 15. Isn't this the add-on? Okay, I don't. Oh man, I don't play Hag enough to actually know this. I should look up this later on. But if this is the add-on where the Hag can teleport to any trap, and then the survivors are not indicated by that, but the Hag knows, this is a very bad change because it's gonna make her even stronger than ever. If this is the iridescent one where she can just teleport to any which one she wants to at will, but she doesn't know, I feel like she doesn't know, but she shouldn't know. Uh, then like sure, because I don't see this one often used enough. Whichever one I think it's the shackles one. Whichever one that it is that the killer can see the survivors near the trap, but it doesn't trigger for the survivors when it happens. That one is crazy powerful, and it's scary. That's all. Half eggshell and cracked turtle egg. These add-ons increase the duration of triggered phantasm traps, allowing her more time to get in range to teleport and a longer window to teleport in a chase. Both are underperforming at the moment, so we are giving them a slight increase. So the half egg shall now increase phantasm trap duration by 45%. It was 30, and the cracked turtle egg now increases the trap duration to 55%. It was 35. Okay. Cold Wind Farm Balance Update. As announced during the year's anniversary broadcast, we are planning to regularly revisit and rebalance existing maps. First up on our to-do list this year is the Fractured Cowshed and Rancid Abattoir. I remember them mentioning this too, so I get that. For Fractured Cowshed, we found it leaned too heavily in favor of survivors. There's a few causes for this. First, the most useful tiles form a big ring around the entire map. This made it very easy for survivors to run from one pallet to another with very little risk of being caught in between. Second, the barn itself was a very strong setup for survivors, allowing them to waste quite a bit of the killer's time before leaving. Third, the center of the map is mostly empty, featuring only corn. And once any generated in the corn are completed, the killer has to patrol in a big circle around the entire map to find survivors, making it very easy, very time consuming. I mean, it's supposed to. To remedy this, we made significant changes to layouts of the map, breaking up a strong outer ring of tiles in the process. Additionally, we made some adjustments to the layout of the barn itself, which is now slightly closer to the middle of the map to reduce its strength. Not too bad, actually. For Rancid Abattoir, depending on how the map is generated, the slaughterhouse could feature strong setup for survivors, allowing them to waste a good amount of time for the killer. Additionally, the large freezer in the center of the building featured a single entrance and nothing important to gameplay. There's no pallets, there's no windows, leaving little reason for anyone to explore it. They have updated the layout of the slaughterhouse to make it strong to make stronger setups less effective. They also opened up the wall in the back of the freezer to allow players to navigate it more easily. Okay, that's kind of nice actually. I never go in the freezer. That place is a dead zone. So I'm actually cool with that. Across the entire realm, you'll notice updated corn tiles with added detail, as well as updated edge tiles on the map's outer fences. Cool. Yeah, I can kind of see that like it's like more separated, so they're not as bunched up together, so it's actually easier to see the survivors through the corn. And with that, we reach the end of the update. Boom. Everything will be listed on the TTB for later of the week. Looking forward to reading through the thoughts, and then we'll check it out. So all in all, what I will say is this entire update, massive W across the board. I love the fact that they reworked the Onryo to be much more deadly if you mess with her power, if you get caught by her. I like that actual because it makes her stealthier, it makes her deadlier if you don't play the objective or if you play it too much. That's cool. Um I like that the bots are becoming a thing more frequently. I like that hook grabs are now no longer a thing. I think that's fair, honestly, because it really can just make and break the entire game. Because the survivor gets hooked or grabbed off during the hook, the killer just puts him down. There's two people there. There's nothing you can do. I totally get that. Brand new part is okay. I mean, I'd like for it to not be as nerfed to the ground as it seems, but visually, I understand that it might be a very powerful tool too. So like, I know I'm cool with that. Um, the perk changes, all in all, pretty big W across the board. I think the only one that I'm not too sure about is territorial. I think even the killer perks, now that I think about it, if I go back and read these killer perks, um, or rather the survivor perks, the only one that I'm not happy about is prove myself, but that's probably like a me problem. Everything else is fine, honestly. Um, oh, maybe Spine Chill too, but it kind of depends on how they word that. I'm gonna assume that they just made it not as visually inducive on the HUD versus it actually being like a better perk or whatever. So I mean, all in all, the perks across the board, even for the killers, W. All the killer perks are fine. The only one that concerns me is Remember Me, but I also it's gonna depend. We'll see how it comes into play. Killer tweaks across the board, I'm actually cool with all of those as well. There's no killer tweaks that are really like an issue to me. Nerfing the spirit add-ons is fine. Changing the hag add-ons is fine. And um Trail of Torment and the Executioner also having like a slight check-in too for that kind of stuff too. All that's fine. So I'm very content with this update. I'm looking forward to it. I'll probably check out the PTB a little bit. We'll get some more information about it too. So happy 7th anniversary. Thank you for watching. Have a good day and take care.